All right, everyone. Hold on. Let me make sure that it's on and we are all good. Hold on. Hey, look at us. Welcome to the State Street Midweek Update. And I am so glad that you're streaming with us or listening to us wherever you are, however you're doing that, whether it's live right now or you are listening later through the State Street mobile app or the website or the Facebook page or whatever way you take this data in. We're so glad that you're with us. And we do this every week to just have some more time, some more space together, even if it's just online to talk about what's happening in the organization, not just in the church, but at the PAC Center, the preschool, the gardens, the green space, but also especially State Street Community Church. We always have lots of stuff going on and lots of stuff to talk about. It also gives us a chance to talk about what's happening in LaPorte County, in Michigan City, but also in the world around us. I'm going to be joined shortly by my co-host and my better in most ways, Pastor Becky Crain. But one of the things that we enjoy as pastors and as leaders of the church is dealing with topics that are difficult and wrestling with those together. And so obviously lots of stuff going on in the world right now. And if you can't ask these tough questions and deal with these topics in the church, that is the center place in the center place in the community of love and justice, where can you deal with those things? Now, I'd prefer to deal with them face to face over coffee or a shared meal or wine or a beer, but we don't have that option right now. We are together only online for the time being, but shortly, hopefully, we'll get the chance to be back together soon. But before I go any further, let me invite on my co-host, the incomparable Rebecca Crain. How are you, Beck?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good, good. How's your week? You can be honest.
It's all right.
Is that not true?
It's been tough.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, I told you when I came in. I'm a little emotional. I've been feeling all the feelings, so which is good. I think it's good to feel feelings. We should be. I've been sad. And I know I said that last week, but
yeah,
I've decided to go off Facebook for a little while.
So if somebody's looking for you on Facebook, then don't be surprised if you don't respond right away.
I need to be off for a few days at least. It sometimes proves to be kind of toxic, and I'm soft.
Well, I tell you what, as you know, I was off for over 3 years, so don't be too critical of yourself. I needed to get off when I got off, and I think some of us would probably would help ourselves out and help the people around us if we would get off. And I only really I take it in just on increments. I dip my toe in the water and then I come back out of it because for me it is toxic. It's hard. We post, obviously, we've got multiple things that we post on Facebook, multiple pages, but I do most of our posting, but I do that through a different site called Loomly. So I actually don't have to go to my Facebook to post. And, again, some people enjoy the chaos of Facebook. Some people enjoy the debate. Some people enjoy that. And there have been moments and times when I have as well, but I've also realized over the years the limits of interaction on Facebook, that not being able to see in people's eyes and talk face to face can lead to, I think, just kind of harm sometimes. So, but I understand that. I'm with you. I think it's good to take breaks. So my kids had a doctor's appointment today, their checkups. All three of them went in because we do them all together just to get them all done. And my wife took them in this time. I typically do the dentist appointments and Emma does the doctor's appointments. But so the doctor said that our kids are too small. Can you believe that?
Yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, no, he said he's worried, and they're a little bit. They're not a little bit. They're very small for their age, and they have to come back like before their year appointment. Like they have to come back in like 6 months or something to get.
Oh.
What I don't understand is what are you going to do? Like,
I know. Catch them?
Yeah, I have no idea what they're going to do. I'm sorry. I have habits, but to do with that. So my kids are very small. I don't know what to do with that. They seem okay being small. They're happy. They eat like crazy, so I don't think it's an eating problem. But
Yeah.
but I thought it was funny. 658 Loucks has hobbit children. And Emma's
Okay.
not real short either, so I don't know where they get it. But
Then maybe they'll just have a late growth spurt. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think my 18-year-old is having a second growth spurt. So,
Oh, she's getting so big, that Grace.
and we got word she gets to go back to school in the fall. So that's exciting.
Yes. Oh, that's a for sure thing. They're going back.
Yeah, they changed their schedule a little. She'll go back a little early. They're going to start classes a little early and then go to Thanksgiving. And when she comes home for Thanksgiving, she'll stay and do finals and stuff online through December. So
Okay. So did she go back any earlier or no?
just a little bit, not much, but classes start a few days because they usually don't start till after Labor Day, but they're starting the end of August now.
Okay. All right. That's good.
They start later. They start later than some other schools, but
Yeah. Have you read any of the stuff for Indiana's education plan and stuff like
I
that?
did read some of it. I find it a little. Some of it doesn't mean much. That sounds bad. I know, but it's kind of, I don't know. Some of it seems hard to wrap your brain around and how that's actually going to work. So I figure I'm just going to let them figure it out and tell me what I'm supposed to do. And that's,
Yeah. And you were a teacher for how many years before you?
9 years.
Yeah. And so I'm sure you can sympathize to.
I do love the idea of trying to social distance kindergartners. I mean, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is. And this is the ironic thing. As much as we laugh at it, it probably is the most important thing to do, right? So it is hard. I do feel bad for our educators. I feel bad for our administrators. And I saw one of the things was recommending social distancing on buses, which my daughter sits 3-person to a seat on the bus with a tuba and a violin.
I saw her. She was with you at the PAC Center yesterday, and she told me that. I'm like, I don't know. They put the violin between them, maybe? I don't know.
Well, since she is a hobbit, she can fit it all, with her.
That's where it comes in handy to be a hobbit.
Yeah.
Is there like a thing above the seats? She could go they just tuck her in above the seat.
But I do. So if you're an educator, if you are we have principals and educators and stuff like that come to State Street. And if you're listening to this, parents and everything, we do. It's a tough season. And so we love you guys. And as you're making decisions and happy, we get that, especially here. And we'll talk about that later. Let's not forget that even if we're not happy with some of the plans, everyone's trying to do the best they can, and especially those in leadership. And in this season, I tend to err on the side of over caution. So if something seems maybe a little bit overkill, I understand that because. It's a lot of pressure on people to open up or do something, and then somebody gets sick, and that's on your conscience.
Right.
And so,
I agree.
So, are you ready for birthdays and anniversaries?
I'm ready.
We still don't have a theme song. I need to talk to Dave. Okay. Me. Okay. All right.
Happy birthday. Happy.
All right. Did you have a birthday song when you worked at the Olive Garden?
I did. 2, actually. We had one when I started, and then about halfway through, we had to learn a new one, and they always made me teach it to everybody, and everybody always wanted me to come out and sing.
Well, I would too. I mean, you could sing, so I would want you to lead that as well. I mean, nobody wants Nate Loucks to lead a song, right? Unless it's victory chant. But
you're always trying to go for that victory chant, aren't you?
We're gonna bring that thing back.
I don't know. I sang my camp song yesterday, so I still remembered that. It was in there. It was in there from how long ago?
Hey, I see you, Leslie. I see you, John Cornett. Thanks for watching, guys. So yeah, it is time for birthdays. We got lots of them, and lots of anniversaries too of dear friends and family from State Street that we love you guys, and so let us wish you a happy. So birthday. I think it's actually her birthday today. Happy birthday, Patty Janice. Happy birthday.
Patty, we miss you. Happy birthday.
Hey, I want to tell a story about Patty Janice real quick. So Patty Janice was so kind and let me borrow a book. And Patty Janice let me borrow this book on trees, and it was fruit trees. What a great thing! Now it was a borrowed book for her. She borrowed it from the library and said, "Just return it to the library," and I did. I did not know though that she borrowed it from the Michigan City Library and not the LaPorte Library. Wow. So I returned it to the LaPorte Library like a fool. Fortunately, the story doesn't end. I contacted the LaPorte Library. Here's the fun thing, Becky Crain. The LaPorte Library said, we practice. Yeah, I know. This might be turned into a movie one day. I don't know. Starring Zach Braff. So they said, listen, we practiced this interlibrary loan thing with the other library. We'll just give them the book, and you don't have to do anything about it.
Those library people, they're top notch.
They are. They're on it. So anyway, happy birthday, Patty. The book is back.
Happy birthday.
Elise Matheny, happy birthday, Elise.
Happy birthday.
Hannah Peters, happy birthday.
We love you. Happy birthday.
Hey, Hannah Peters, send us your address. We really do need your address.
Yeah, I can't find it except Mucho Mas. Should I say that?
Don't tell people she works at Mucho Mas. That's not fair to them.
Maybe they want to go sing to her. Order a taco for her birthday.
That's true. All right. Amber Mrzinski, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Speaking of teachers, May Tanger, one of my favorite humans.
So cute.
May, I miss you, kiddo pie. Chloe, okay. So here's the thing: is Chloe? I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I only call you Chloe. Is it Gary, like Gary, Indiana? Is it Garay? Or wait? How did you want to pronounce it, Beck?
I said Garay, same as you. Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, no, I know. So maybe let us know, Chloe, because we look like fools. Anyway, those are our birthdays. Happy birthday, everyone. We love you guys. We're so glad you were born. Anniversaries, we got 5 of them this week. State Street anniversaries. Again, we love you guys. It's your anniversary. If you can maybe play the Tony anniversary song in our honor.
Anniversary.
Go. All right.
It's your anniversary.
Yes, it is.
Oh, I know. Again, not much more to that song. So
no, but I tried to get Joe Ruiz, Rummer Educator, to let me be the guy in his band that just does the uhs and the na-na-na-nas, and he wouldn't let me.
How did he done?
No, he wouldn't let me.
He wouldn't let me.
But anyway.
Wise choice, Joe. Wise choice.
It was rude. Okay, anyway. Dale and Betsy Parkinson, happy anniversary. Way to go, guys.
You did it.
You did it. Matt and Marie Schultz, it is your anniversary this week. Happy anniversary.
Celebrate you.
Do you call him Matt or Wally?
I don't think I call anybody Wally.
Do you call him? Oh no, well I do sometimes, but his name is Walter. But I'm still not sure why he goes by Matt. I call him Matt. Sometimes I call him Wally. Sometimes I call him Mr. Schultz. I don't know. Matt and Megan Buchanan, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, guys.
Nick and Michelle Minnick, it is your anniversary.
We're so proud of you.
My heart is welled up so many sizes with pride that I have in you two. And Steve and Jenny Cavajola, it is your anniversary.
Or as I like to say, Cavajolie, just because it's fun. They do have a really fun last name.
But
sometimes I mispronounce it.
Well, they have that I in there, that Italian I there, the Cavajola. Like you just kind of have to go by it and pretend like the I doesn't exist. And because it is a Caviggiola, but it's just Cavajola. It's not Cavaggiola.
They show me a lot of grace when I mess around with them.
They're very kind, gracious people.
Very kind.
And so that's our birthdays and anniversaries. We love you guys. Happy anniversary. Happy birthday. You're the best. All right. Hey, question of the week. Here is your chance to respond in the comments. We'd love to know. Last week we talked about what movie makes you cry, and it was fun to hear that. This week we're going to ask a little more personal question. When you were growing up, what was your dream job? And I'm not talking about like I wanted to be like, when I was 5, I wanted to be a firefighter. I'm talking about like when you could start visualizing what you wanted to be, maybe in high school or something. What did you think would have been the dream job for you? All right. Do you have one, Becky?
When I saw you were going to ask that, I always wanted to be a singer. And I know that sounds like, because I still sing today, but I really wanted to be a singer. Fun fact, though, I went to college as a voice major and hated it, hated being a voice major, and proceeded to change my major about 6 or 7 times and changed schools a few times. So,
why did you hate it so much?
I didn't enjoy. I loved my voice teacher.
I guarantee you they're watching right now, so be very careful.
But very much wanted me to be operatic in the way that I sang, and kept telling me I need to get the rasp out of my voice, which is kind of my voice.
Okay. All right.
But, I always did want to be a singer. I fancied myself, singing to people one day. And look, I do get to sing today. It's more, bigger than that, but,
Yeah. I think you are a singer. You're a professional singer, and you have cut an album. And I remember. Now you don't remember this, but I, for some reason, firmly remember a cutout of you, a cardboard cutout. There wasn't one.
That's not true.
I firmly remember back when you were younger, when you were just a child, when you cut your first album. I remember in the Countryside lobby there being a cardboard cutout of Becky Crain or Becky Jones.
Not true. False information.
And if you are listening to this and you have a copy of that tape, let me have it. I've been looking all over for that because I would like a copy. Do you have a copy still? I'm sure you could get one probably from your dad. I bet your dad has one, your dad or mom.
I might somewhere, but I couldn't tell you where it is.
All right. We have some comments coming in. I don't know who this is because I think you're watching probably through our private group, State Street group. So forgive me, but because it won't tell us who it is if you're watching through the private group. But wildlife photographer for them. I wonder. I don't know.
No, they're saying they want to be a wildlife photographer.
No. I know. That's what I'm saying. That whoever this is, I just don't know who it is. Could be Amy Warner.
Yeah, what a cool job.
Oh, yeah, it'd be a great job. With a strong enough lens, right? Here's our friend Lisa Pierzakowski says, I always wanted to be the lady in charge of the county home so I could be with all the residents. That's really kind of you. Dream crushed, then she said. I'm sorry, Lisa. You'd have been great. I wish that would have worked out. I got some good news here from you. Amy said it. Good. I was right.
That makes sense.
And then here is a good news. Kathy Gardner-Clays, Miss Kathy, as you might know her here, says that her mom might have one of the tapes. Kathy, find that tape. You know what we're going to do? We're going to digitize that tape, and we're going to make a CD, a compact disc out of that tape. And we're gonna let that tape live again because it should see life again. Here's another one. Leslie. Hey, Leslie. Leslie Osinski. As a very young child, I wanted to own a video rental store. Real answer. Oh, who doesn't want a video rental store? And real answer in high school. Binder says, it sounds really simple, but I just wanted to be a great stay awesome. Anyway, my answer for that is when I was younger, when I was at the LaPorte 4th of July parade. Now, you don't have to relive all the things you're mad about that we're not doing a LaPorte 4th of July parade this year. Everyone, just calm down. But when I was there was a man who was our elected representative at the time. And this will take you back to how old this is, but his name was Tim Romer. And Tim Romer was walking in the parade, and Tim Romer shook my hand, and he had a blue tie on. And I remember very vividly. And he was a younger guy. He wasn't real old. And he had parted hair, and he looked put together. Now, mind you, I grew up in a trailer, all these things, and it just looked like, oh, that seems to have it all put together. And I said, I want to do whatever he's going to do. What does he do? And said he's a politician. So I said, well, I'm just going to be a politician then. And for years, I wanted to be a politician. And then I learned what politicians do. And I actually said, I want to help people. And I became a pastor instead. And Becky can confirm, we get lots of rumors that Nate Loucks is running for an office here, and I am not. You know how you can always be assured I am not, because my wife will tell you Nate Loucks will never be a politician, or he will find a new wife. So, but that's what I wanted to do when I was younger, is be a politician. So,
you can still walk in parades and shake hands.
Oh, no, I've done plenty of that. I've done that. That's fun.
The fun part,
Yeah, and help people, right? Help people.
Absolutely.
I get to do that in spades, and I don't have to deal with elected officials or bureaucracy as much as there's still some bureaucracy, but I just love my job. I love getting to do what I did to do now. So anyway, keep responding. When you were growing up, what is your dream job? It's fun to hear. Somebody wanted to be a paleontologist. That's actually what my son Finley wants to be, is a paleontologist, and he has for years. He used to say, when he was really young, and it warmed my heart, he would say, I just want to be a dad. And I'm like, oh, that's why you're my favorite, Finley. But then he stopped saying it, and then he stopped being my favorite.
That's good parenting right there.
Do you want me to lie to you? Do you want me to lie and say, no, I don't? I mean, geez. All you have to do to win my heart as a parent is tell me I'm your favorite parent. And I'm like, what do you need? A pony? What do you want?
Hey, Nate, you're my favorite pastor.
I don't believe you.
You're so great.
I'm the only other pastor here. All right. Hey, let's move on to where we're at regarding COVID-19. If you are part of our church and you've received our emails, and if you want to receive our emails, let us know. Put it in the comments. We will get you on our email list. But you probably received a invitation to fill out a survey, our restarting in-person services survey. And we've had, I think, 119 people fill that out so far in a couple days, and we really appreciate it. And we are putting all that data together and compiling it just to see kind of where everyone's at. And it is what you would expect. People are all over the place, and that's okay. People have different reasons to be more concerned than others. And obviously, we're all very kind of confused about some of the stuff coming out. And let me. I talked to a medical professional about that. And let me at least explain why so much conflicting information, or it seems like so much conflicting information is coming out. This is a novel coronavirus, and novel just means new. We know very little about it. And when a study comes out, they usually publish an article about a study that was done and the results of the study. But studies, in order to be scientific, need to go through a arduous process for that study to be confirmed as true, essentially, and scientific. And what happens is we latch onto studies before they've been put through the rigorous scientific method of it. And then we say, well, look, this is what we know now. And we technically don't know it. It's just what one study has said. And sometimes what will happen is there's an article where one study says this and another study says the very opposite of it. And it's because those two studies have not went through the process of being peer reviewed and things like that. So it's not that people are making up stuff. It's that people are trying to confuse us. It's a novel coronavirus. It's a new coronavirus. It's a new illness. We know very little about it. As soon as a study comes out, we're writing headlines. We're trying to glean as much information out of it and to decide what we should do and stuff like that. And that might not even be the best thing to do, but that's why things seem to be changing so quickly. Anyway, we are planning on restarting services. We do not have a date for that yet because we wanted to get all the information from people about what we want to see. Beck, you got to read the comments. One of the things that I really loved, it wasn't every comment, obviously, not every person said this, but there was more than a couple of them that would say, listen, regardless, maybe we want to be back sooner than later. We prefer to be back already, these kind of things. We trust our leadership and we trust the people that are leading here. And it means a lot to us that you're asking the questions from us. And that meant a lot to me because it's absolutely true. We are trying not to rush into this, but we are trying to go forward. And there's this balance between those two of trying to do it, not rushed, but also trying to move forward, but doing it wisely. So anyway, if you can, pray for the leadership team and the staff. The leadership team is meeting next Monday to make some decisions on what to do going forward, maybe even put a timeline together. It'll probably be a phased-in approach where we just do services in the sanctuary, no kids for a little while. Your kids can come, obviously, but no kids space stuff, social distance, these kind of things. We're also in the process of preparing our building. We're organizing and getting ready for hand sanitizing stations and making our Eucharist safe as well, ordering that kind of stuff. And that takes a little while. Nothing is coming quickly right now. And we got to make sure all that stuff comes in first before we open up so that we can do it safely. But anyway, we read it. My heart broke every time I read somebody say, part of their religious experience and part of the beauty of the church for them is being with people. And it is mine too. Community means so much to me. So know that you're not alone there. And you're lamenting over this season and where we're at is shared by, I think, all of us. Anything to add to that, Beck?
Nope, I think you said it really well. And again, how much we appreciate people's encouragement. We got some awesome people in this community here. And the fact that so many people have been more encouraging and positive, it means a lot. It really does.
Yep. And most people that have filled it out have said, we'd like to see some precautions. And so It's trying to figure out what are the right precautions, not only based on what people want, but also what we know with the CDC and things like this. And again, it's not a foolproof science, and we've got to make sure that it makes sense in our community and stuff like that. But we are working on it, and we are hoping to have some decisions within the next week. Like I said, Monday night, I've got a leadership team meeting with our leaders here, and we will have all of that stuff. Somebody asked, have the anniversaries and birthdays been announced yet? Yes, they have. And I can't do them again because it takes so long.
Does the last have an anniversary and a birthday
Hey, yeah, you can rewind this, though, and you'll hear them. So if you haven't filled out a survey and you'd like to, go to statestreet.tv/COVID survey. And on a link to fill out, and on that link is just where you could give some feedback and what you're thinking about. It's helpful for us to know how many people are probably going to be there when we reopen, or how many people are probably just going to be taking in the online experience for a little bit longer, which is completely fine, totally understandable. We have members in our leadership that have health issues, that are worried about these kind of things, not only for them, but for their kids. And so they'll be at home watching as well for quite a while. So there is no judgment. There's nothing other than just trying to get in the right data for us to make the right decision, a wise decision. So statestreet.tv/COVID survey. If you're listening, we'd love to have your feedback on that. All right, next thing. This last Sunday, we were in Ruth chapter 3. And any thoughts on that sermon, Beck, before I get into my stuff?
Pretty risque part of the story.
What's that?
But pretty risque part of the story.
Yeah.
No one can say it's boring. But I know you have this down, but I loved the point that you made the idea that sometimes we have to risk something for the important things in life. And I know that you were going to talk about that, but I'm
Mhm.
just going to step on you and talk
No, go
about,
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
that sometimes, in this season, we just get so comfortable in what we know. And as we often talk about, we don't know what we don't know. And that's scary, but it's also important to press forward and be open to learning what we don't know. And I think that it's risky, but I think it's worth it. I think it's all a process of being better humans,
Yeah.
And that's what we want to be, because that's being more like Christ. So
Yeah, I think so too, and I think you hit the nail on the head there. We don't know what we don't know, and that we talk about that a lot here, and which hopefully gives yourself permission to be humble, because we don't know what we don't know, which is why I think sometimes we need to talk more about pride being a sin, because sometimes we pretend to know things that we don't. Just
and we feel like that's how we're supposed to be, like this. I don't know. There's something within the church that says I'm supposed to know all the answers, and so we fall into that pitfall of, even if we don't, we pretend we do, or we double down on what we think we're supposed to know, and it's just not helpful.
Yeah, there is this kind of weird idea that there's strength in knowing, or at least having a response, instead of sometimes just saying, I don't know what to do with this, right? I don't know what to do. I mean, we're in a season right now where we're talking about deep-seated racism, and I had a conversation yesterday with a dear friend that talked about his own racism, and saying, I don't know what's within me, but I know it exists somewhere in there. And I'm working on it, and I'm trying to not be less than that, because I think Christ invites me to be less than that, and to be more full, and to recognize other people's humanity and the image of God in them. And I think it's a humble thing to say, but I think it's so crucial to say. In order for the world to be better, we have to start by looking within our own hearts to say, where does the evilness and where does the darkness exist within us? And if you can't find anything in there, then look harder. Right? It's like Rafiki from Lion King. Look harder.
But like you said, it's risky. It's a risky move to admit what we don't know and actually move forward, and then to keep digging to try to, because it means that when we discover it, that we might have to change. Yeah.
And part of that, like we talked about, is I am addicted to my own comfort. I really am. I like my own comfort. And I was just talking to, who was it? Somebody this week that was saying they're getting to a point in their life where they're making a little bit more money, and they're feeling more like adults, because they're making a slightly more money than they did back when they were 18, 19, 20, and they don't worry all the time about having as much in their account that they need to pay their bills, right? I remember that very, very well, because it wasn't all that long ago. And so, going, okay, don't spend any money this week, because we don't have it. We're fortunate enough to we were able to get some bills paid off and live fairly conservatively in that we don't have as much of that problem there. But I remember my mom being, working a very minimum wage job, having 4 kids, being a single mom. And it was like that. It was every paycheck to paycheck every week, and there wasn't a relief from that. And it's just, it could be so hard to live in that season and to not know what you don't know. But and we talked about that, right? Being frustrated to the point of like just wanting to give up. And I don't know about you, but I face that cynicism sometimes in my own life. Is what's the point?
Me too. And I'm not a cynic. You know that I'm not a cynic, like far from.
You're obnoxiously optimistic most of the time.
I am obnoxiously optimistic.
Yep, I agree. But you can get to that point. I don't want to tell on you, but you're kind of in that season right now, right? I mean, it's a hard season for you to remain as optimistic as you typically are. And what if you don't mind me psychoanalyzing you a little bit back before the whole people watching is, where is that stemming from for you?
Whew. You have to be okay. I might get a little verklempt here.
You can Clemens.
I think a lot of it has to do with conversations with my kids who are, they have watched me be a part of the church, and they have been a part of the church also, but they are watching the church's response
Mm-hmm.
to the things going on. And, the younger generation, I have a lot of hope in our young people. I really do, because I think they care about justice issues more so than the generations before them. Maybe that's unfair to say, but I do have a lot of hope in our younger generations. But having conversations with my kids and kind of looking at the church through their lens and what they're seeing, and sometimes being so disappointed, and just sad that as the church, we should be at the front of the pack fighting for justice. It shouldn't even be something that we're discussing. It shouldn't be like, well, should we or shouldn't we? We should be out there at the front of the pack. And so often, we're our own worst enemy. We're the ones that are making excuses and making it harder, and then tearing people down that are trying to fight for justice. And it frustrates me, because I want my kids to see the church that I see, to see the Jesus that I know, and have it matter,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. And isn't that the hope of most parents, is to see the Christ that has waken me up from my slumber and sent me on a path of love and justice, where the hungry is fed, the poor is taken care of, and the homeless are housed, and things like this. That this faith that means more than just the axioms and the words that we say. It's also about our actions, and for me, my faith has been that motivating factor. And it is hard to see people that we break bread with, and we share the same faith with, and use language and use hateful rhetoric towards people. Because here's the thing. Here's what I'm learning. You don't have to agree with someone to be unified with them. You don't even have to agree with every pursuit of justice in the same way that somebody else pursues justice to agree with them, and to say that the pursuit is still holy and good, even if I don't agree with every action that's being taken. Sometimes I think we have this very, very specific and precise litmus test to be unified. And when people don't meet it, then we just fracture, which has caused this really huge fracture in the American church, that we just got all these little groups of people, and nobody really gets along that well.
Right.
And then what can be used for such a force for good is really just a bunch of people kind of going inward and not doing as much as we should.
Because it's comfortable, and we don't want to take that risk we don't want to take that risk, because we don't have to. I mean,
it's true. Yep.
We don't have to.
And that's a good point, Beck. We don't have to. We've talked about this at State Street many, many times. One of the important things that we do is we build gardens and green space and community centers and areas of LaPorte where people might not live, that might not want to live, or might not go as often as might not, because it's important to see our neighbors. And in order to see your neighbors, you have to live by your neighbors. You have to be among your neighbors. And you can easily drive a different way. You have to go, the road that takes you by one of our gardens, you might not have to ever go there. But it's in order to be really a part of seeking justice, loving God, and doing that, you have to go into the neighborhoods that Jesus is already at, so that we can meet him there. What is that?
That's my phone. That's my daughter texting me.
She's probably like, Mom, don't ever say a word about me again on this. But anyway, I'm with you, Beck. Don't lose hope. I know we all, as pastors and leaders, and we go through seasons and moments I've went through months at times of wanting to quit and give up and trying to find and cry out for hope. And I know this after every season of desperation and depression I've been in, I've come out changed in some way. And so I think that's where we'll all be after this. Hopefully change and act and talk more and more like Jesus every day. So, all right. Anything else on that Ruth chapter 3, Beck? No? All right. This coming week, we end our Ruth series. Our last week, Ruth chapter 4. If you remember, Boaz says there's someone else for Ruth that comes in line as the Redeemer before him, and we have to deal with that situation and what to do with that to know whether or not if Ruth and Boaz get together. What a kind of a funny scene in chapter 3, though, right? Where, smell good, wear your perfumes, wear some good clothes, and then take off the blanket from his toes, and very scandalous. But somebody's asking if I'm hiding a haircut. I'm not hiding one. I got one. But
I have not gotten a haircut since all this began. So
no, I've gotten 2 haircuts since you've gotten none.
I've gotten none. So.
All right. What's things happening around the church and announcements that we have? We want to both thank Mike Antonowski, who has been taking down our ceiling tiles in our sanctuary. Thank you, Mike.
It looks good.
Yeah. So you might not know this. We are changing our ceiling tiles at State Street while everyone's out and the sanctuary is empty, other than our Sunday morning things. We're doing a little bit of different lighting. We're moving our cameras and stuff like that, getting ready for everyone to come back, but also to continue doing our video stuff well. So we've been working on that. Also, don't forget, if you can, to fill out the survey at statestreet.tv/COVID survey. We're obviously still planting and things are growing at Jackson Street Community Garden and Brighton Street Green Space. Thanks to everyone that helped put in our drainage over there. Thanks to everyone who is still participating and helping at the PAC Center. That's been going well. We continue to do community meals there. And we are thinking about, and I'll just put this out there, if you're interested, let us send Becky or I a message, because we're thinking about doing a study on Latasha Morrison's Be the Bridge. And obviously a lot of people are wanting to know how to be a good advocate and be a good friend to those in our community who are Black and who, are going through a different season than you and I might be going through. Though we have a shared season, but our feelings are certainly different probably in this season. And so we want to be a good neighbor, and we want to know as much as we can about the plight of people going in our community. So we're thinking about starting a study there, and it'd be in person. Obviously, it probably wouldn't be until July, but if you're interested in doing something like that, send us a message and we will keep you on a list of doing that, because I think it'd be great. Beck, have you read that book? I've been posting some quotes from it, but
no, I haven't read the book, but I've listened to Latasha quite a few times, and I have followed a lot of what she's had to say. So I'd be very interested in reading it.
Great. And again, that's something we get going here within the next month or so, hopefully. All right, our last section before we end today, this is a new section. Instead of, we're kind of renaming this, but I'm going to call it Show and Tell. Beck, this week? Yeah. What did you read, learn, listen to that you want to share with the group? Anything?
The 2 things I've been listening to a lot. The 2 things that have stood out to me the most in the last few days is the documentary 13th on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I knew some of what's in there, but not to the extent. And it's hard to watch. It's very hard to watch, but I also think it's really important to watch. Excellent. And then the second thing is a podcast, the podcast with Brene Brown and Austin Channing Brown. I listened to that last night. And I'm a huge Brene Brown fan anyway. I will listen to her anytime, any place. But her conversation with Austin Channing Brown, whose book I recommended last week, and it's also very good. their conversation is just beautiful. I mean, it's sad, but it's hopeful. There's a lot of laughter. They're friends in real life. So just to listen to them, connect with each other through this, it's just, I really enjoyed listening to it a lot of things that just grabbed onto me and gave me hope.
Good. That's
the podcast is called Unlocking Us. It's Brene Brown's podcast.
Okay, it's actually Brene's podcast. Great.
Yeah.
Good suggestion.
A lot of guests on there, if just in general, it's a really good podcast. But that one in particular is the one I.
One of the things that I did today, this morning, for some reason, I got on this tangent of, we're talking about statues and statues coming down and renaming, all these kind of things, which honestly, I'm for. If there's a statue for a Confederate leader that was defending slavery, whatever, it has no meaning for me. However, right. I was reading then because I wanted to think, what kind of statue do we have? Any statues locally that are, essentially homages to somebody with a sordid past? And the only statue I can really think of, and maybe we have more of them, but is the statue in the courthouse. And it's an Indian breaking an arrow above his head. And this statue has existed my whole life. I was born at the end of 1981. I'm an old millennial, but and I've always just loved this statue. I did. I've always just felt a connection to it. And so I wanted to, but I didn't know how it got there. I didn't know when it got there. And so I wanted to kind of do some studies on it and just kind of figure out a little bit more about it. And it's kind of got a fascinating history. And we'll have to ask our friends Jason and Christina DeMeyer whether or not this is part of their family. But it was actually very fascinating, sculpted by a lawyer in town. And it was sculpted by a DeMeyer, Howard A. DeMeyer, and it was sculpted in 1976, dedicated then in the bicentennial year as a gift from Laporte to America in the bicentennial year. Now, I think it's a great statue. I think there's nothing wrong with it. Don't go take the statue down. But I do look at some of it and think, well, some of the verbiage might not be the best, if we're being honest. Only because I was reading a little bit more about the Potawatomi Indians, and if you read the plaques make it seem as if it was maybe more of an amicable farewell than it was. It wasn't necessarily amicable, and I think we may have whitewashed it a little bit. However, that doesn't mean that the statue needs to come down. I think it's a beautiful statue that has a lot of meaning. And I think it one of the beautiful things that the statue does is it says at the beginning of the plaque, it says, "On land once belonging to his people, this Potawatomi Indian stands." And I love the recognition that this land belonged to the Potawatomi, because we sometimes forget injustices that happened, just 150 to 200 years ago here in America, and that
not long ago.
Not long ago, and I was reading. I didn't know, and I don't want to go on too much. I read stuff. I like to share it, but I was reading a little bit more then about the Catholic missionaries and stuff like that, and I did not know that at the time of the what they called the Potawatomi Trail of Tears, where dozens of Potawatomi Indians, mostly children, died when we sent them from Indiana out to Kansas. But at that point, they were what we call already Christianized. They were already Christian Indians, and they were worshiping and singing hymns, and it had been for a couple generations at that point, right? And I was reading some of the accounting from 150 years ago from some of the Indian chiefs and stuff like that, essentially asking, why can we not be brothers and sisters? Why can we not live in this land together? And one of the things that I was reading about was a Catholic priest that was in the area doing missionary work. He was 27 years old. He was from, I think, France. He was a lawyer as well. And he went out to he got asked to essentially be the missionary. I think he was connected to Notre Dame in some way, but he got asked to be the missionary, and he was, and he did a great job. But anyway, it's recorded that one of the Indians was talking to him, and he says this to the father, the priest there. "Now, Father, everything I say comes from the heart. We wish our money to be paid here, not west of the Mississippi. You've been speaking of our miseries and our wretchedness. Your counsels have brought these miseries on us. By your advice, the very lands on which we expected to terminate our existence have been sold from us. Father, we do not see why it is that we should be requested to go west and live long. Man's life is uncertain, and ere we reach that country, death may overtake us. I see not how our natural existence should be prolonged by going west." And this priest then ended up traveling, actually working with his diocese. The diocese didn't want him to go, but when the Potawatomis got kicked off this land, this priest ended up going out with them. He met up with them in Illinois after finally convincing his bishop to go, and he traveled with them essentially from Illinois out to Kansas, helping the sick, mostly, like I said, children. And the Native Americans, the Indians, loved him. They really did, and they spoke eloquently of him and stuff like that. But what I was really saddened by is once they got there, and obviously huge death toll from the Native Americans, he started on his way back to Indiana. 27 years old priest, and he got sick and died in St. Louis. And sometimes doing the right thing costs us. And even when it's not popular, even when it makes you vulnerable, even when you have to fight in order to get the right to do the hard things, it costs us. And but I know after reading this story, I know that God used this man, and God used the people he was around, and they had a church, and even though they were struggling from other Christians and other people, they inspired me by reading about their story this morning. So wherever you're at, wherever you're listening, know that God uses people like you, and God uses people like me and people like Pastor Becky, and it can be vulnerable sometimes to use your voice and to use your privilege and to use what you have to speak on behalf of other people and speak with other people and to listen to other people. But God honors that, just like he did with Ruth and Naomi, just like he did with this priest father, just like he has with State Street and the people here. So with that, I'll say goodbye. You have anything else, Pastor Becky?
That's all. I think you hit it.
All right. Hey, we love you guys. Be praying for the leadership and the staff here, and we will get together again soon. And be good to each other, and be good to yourselves. All right. God bless.